while performing a welfare check outside a Miami Beach apartment building on a Saturday night in July of 2025. Police found the body of an elderly New Jersey woman named Elizabeth Caruso in a garbage chute. The victim's son-in-law had asked law enforcement to check on the senior citizen after she went radio silent during a visit to see her son, 40-year-old Anthony Caruso, who reportedly suffers from mental illness. Officers followed a trail of blood leading from the trash chute to Anthony's apartment, where he engaged the authorities in an 8-hour standoff before being taken into custody. He faces a second-degree murder charge and is currently being held without bond at the Turner Guilford Night Correctional Center. Number 18. Beatrice Weston. In October 2011, police in multiple states discovered a kidnapping and human trafficking ring targeting vulnerable disabled adults who were held against their will and tortured after being lured to locations in Pennsylvania, Texas, Virginia, and Florida. While searching a property in Philadelphia, investigators found 4 mentally handicapped adults who were being held captive in a squalid basement dungeon. 2 days later, police found another victim, 19-year-old Beatrice Weston, who had been missing for over 10 years prior to her rescue. Her aunt, 51-year-old Linda Weston, had taken her as a young child after a fight with the girl's mother. There were obvious signs of abuse and torture on Beatrice's body when she was rescued, including burn marks, scars, open wounds, and broken bones. Following the appalling discoveries of the victims, authorities arrested Linda Weston, her boyfriend, 47-year-old Gregory Thomas, Linda's daughter, 32-year-old Jean McIntosh, 49-year-old Eddie Wright, and 26-year-old Nicholas Woodard. They were accused of confining their victims to dark, locked rooms, sedating them by putting drugs in their food, stealing their social security benefits, and mercilessly beating and tormenting them when they tried to escape, stole food, or stood up for themselves. Some individuals were held captive for years, and at least 2 victims died at the hands of their captors. One woman passed away in 2005 after being held against her will for a month, while another woman died from starvation and bacterial meningitis in 2008. The 5 suspects were charged with nearly 200 crimes in a federal racketeering and hate crimes case. In September 2015, Linda Weston pleaded guilty to all counts, including racketeering conspiracy, kidnapping resulting in the death of a victim, forced human labor, involuntary servitude, murder, kidnapping, fraud, theft of government funds, and more. She was sentenced to life, plus 80 years in prison. Jean McIntosh also pleaded guilty and received a 40-year prison sentence after helping prosecutors build their case, while Nicholas Woodard was sentenced to 27 years. Eddie Wright also received a 27-year sentence, while the outcome of the case against Gregory Thomas is unclear. Number 17. Lutalo Henderson. Late one night in early August of 2024, NYPD officers found dismembered human remains inside a Bronx apartment. The following day, Yonkers police found a torso in a shopping cart that had been set on fire. The NYPD took jurisdiction of the case, and the mutilated body parts were identified as 46-year-old Lutalo Henderson. His legs had been severed below the knee, his hands had been cut off, and his jaw had been removed. According to prosecutors, Henderson was murdered by his roommate, 40-year-old Muhammad Adil, and a second suspect, 18-year-old Renai Harris, following a dispute at the apartment that Henderson and Adil shared. Using a series of surveillance videos which showed 2 people pushing a heavy object in a shopping cart, investigators traced the actual killing to a different apartment than the one where Henderson's partial remains were found. Adil and Harris were charged with second-degree murder, first-degree manslaughter, multiple drug possession charges, concealment of a human corpse, and criminal possession of a firearm. Both defendants remain in custody without bond at Rikers Island, pending the outcome of their case. Number 16. Peter Gerold. In February of 2021, a concerned civilian called Philadelphia police about 70-year-old massage therapist Peter Gerold, who had mysteriously gone missing. He wasn't at his home, but a neighbor told officers that he often traveled, and law enforcement left the scene. The next morning, the same resident called the police and reported seeing a suspicious U-Haul truck near Gerold's home. Officers pulled the truck over and searched the back of the vehicle, where they found dismembered partial human remains stuffed into a trash bag. The victim's hands and feet had been deep fried, while a set of human legs appeared uncooked. Later that night, police discovered additional body parts in the dumpster of a Wawa convenience store just blocks away from Gerold's home. 47-year-old Taray Herring and 43-year-old Jeanette Pace were charged with Gerold's murder and various other offenses relating to the homicide. Authorities accused the defendants of burglarizing Gerold's home, pointing to an alleged motive for the crime. In May of 2024, a jury found Herring guilty of murder, resulting in a life sentence without parole. Jeanette Pace pleaded guilty to third-degree murder and various other charges. She currently appears to be serving prison time, although the length of her sentence is unclear. Number 15. Ashley Young. 31-year-old Ashley Young disappeared in late November of 2018 after breaking up with her boyfriend and moving out of their shared apartment. She had made plans to move into her own apartment, but she never showed up to sign the lease. Young's recent ex-boyfriend was ruled out as a person of interest after his alibi checked out, and he seemed just as worried about her well-being as her family and friends. In her efforts to find her daughter, Young's mother discovered that she had recently exchanged messages with an acquaintance from years earlier named Jared James Chance. When confronted by Young's mother, Chance admitted that they had met at a bar on the night she went missing. He claimed that they had gone separate ways afterwards, but police searched his apartment in Grand Rapids while responding to a call about suspicious activity and found Young's mutilated remains near a staircase. They also discovered blood evidence throughout the home and items that they believed had been used to dismember the body, serving as indicators of Young's gruesome fate. Chance was arrested but refused to answer questions, invoking his right to an attorney. After finding enough evidence to build a solid case pointing toward him as the killer, authorities charged him with Young's murder. They also arrested Chance's parents, James and Barbara, after finding a bloody shower curtain and other evidence at the couple's home. Following a 3-day trial in 2019, Jared Chance was found guilty of second-degree murder and other charges surrounding Young's death. He received a prison sentence of 100 to 200 years, and his motive for killing the victim remains a mystery to this day. Barbara Chance served 45 days in jail for lesser charges, while James Chance was sentenced to a year of probation for accessory after the fact. Number 14. José Paulino Pascual-Reyes. On a summer morning in 2022, a preteen girl was found wandering along a rural roadside in Dadeville, Alabama. Tallapoosa County deputies made contact with her after receiving a call from a concerned passerby and learned that she had escaped from the nearby home of her mother's boyfriend, 37-year-old José Paulino Pascual-Reyes, where she had been held captive. After being kidnapped several days earlier, the girl had been tied to a bedpost and forced to drink alcohol to keep her in an intoxicated state. She escaped after chewing through her restraints, breaking the braces on her teeth in the process. While searching the residence, police discovered the decomposing, dismembered bodies of the girl's mother, 34-year-old Sandra Vasquez Ceja, and the teenage son that Ceja and Pascual-Reyes shared, Omar Gallegos Vasquez. Ceja had been smothered to death with a pillow, and Gallegos Vasquez had been fatally bludgeoned. Both victims were killed on or around the same day the kidnapping took place. Pascual-Reyes was charged with 11 crimes, including first-degree kidnapping, abuse of a corpse, and 9 counts of capital murder. He was in the United States illegally at the time of the killings. After previously being deported from the country, the accused killer was remanded into custody without bond, pending the outcome of his case. According to an update from late December of 2024, the defendant's court proceedings have been repeatedly met with delays. News sources reported that the hearings were scheduled to resume in March of 2025, but the case appears to remain at a standstill. Number 13. Carla Faith. In November of 2019, officers paid a visit to a Colorado Springs daycare center owned by a woman in her 50s named Carla Faith, who was accused of caring for more children than she was legally allowed. Eerie body cam footage shows officers knocking on the door with music playing from somewhere within the house. The music suddenly stopped, but no one initially came to the door. Police eventually made contact with Faith, who claimed that the children were at a nearby park. She denied that the home had a basement, but law enforcement's suspicions only grew when they overheard a child crying. Having established probable cause to enter the home, officers searched and found a false wall with a set of stairs behind it leading to a basement. In the secret area, there were 26 children, more than 4 times the number Faith was licensed to care for, who were being cared for by 2 staff members. Authorities shut down the clandestine daycare along with another facility Faith owned, and in 2021 she was convicted of 1 felony count of attempting to influence a public servant, 26 misdemeanor counts of child abuse, and 1 misdemeanor count of running a child care facility without a license. She was sentenced to 6 years in prison but becomes eligible for parole this year and has a hearing scheduled for August. Number 12. Tanya Byrd. In February of 2013, NYPD officers responded to a call in the Bronx neighborhood of Morrisania, where a civilian had found a plastic bag and suitcase containing dismembered body parts, including hands, a shoulder, and a woman's torso. While combing the area for more evidence, police discovered another plastic bag and suitcase containing 2 legs, a foot, and a head. Investigators identified the victim as 45-year-old Tanya Byrd and arrested 2 suspects in connection with her death, including her son, 23-year-old Bashid McLean, and his friend, 26-year-old William Harris. McLean denied any wrongdoing, while he and Harris accused one another of being the killer. In the meantime, Harris told police that McLean had sent him a photo of Byrd's dead body and asked for help disposing of the remains. Both suspects admitted to mutilating Byrd's corpse and were charged with unlawful dissection, while McLean faced a second-degree murder charge. After urinating himself and having several outbursts during one of his first court hearings, McLean proclaimed his innocence and said he was trying to help, but did not explain what he meant by the statement. He was found guilty as charged following a trial in 2016 and received consecutive sentences of 25 years to life for killing his mother plus 1 1/3 to 4 years for the dismemberment of her body. Number 11. Cheryl Gaydos. While conducting a welfare check at a West Ashley, South Carolina apartment on Saturday, March 29th, police discovered the murdered body of 47-year-old Cheryl Lynn Gaydos. She had been violently assaulted. Later that day, police arrested the victim's boyfriend, 44-year-old Jamie Ryan McKinney, on a murder charge. He remains held without bond at the Sheriff Al Cannon Detention Center as he awaits his next court appearance, which is scheduled for September 19th. Jail records show that McKinney had been arrested just 4 months prior to Gaydos' death on a DUI charge. He does not appear to have a prior criminal record in the state of South Carolina. The legal documents pertaining to the murder case are sealed under court order, and authorities have revealed very few details about the killing, leaving the incident largely shrouded in mystery for the time being. When news of the homicide broke, police appealed to the public for information on the case, urging anyone who believed they could help to contact law enforcement. Number 10. June Fox Roberts. In November of 2021, police in the Welsh town of Pontypridd responded to the home of 65-year-old June Fox Roberts, where they found her brutally murdered and wrapped in plastic on her dining room floor. She had been bludgeoned to death, then dismembered and decapitated with an axe. Investigators struggled to identify a suspect until a member of the public alerted them to a suspicious individual seen lurking at a local tire yard, later identified as 25-year-old former art student Luke Dealey. The individual was wearing clothing belonging to one of the victim's daughters. Authorities determined that he had entered Fox Roberts' home through an unlocked door and attacked her during the early morning hours. Officers tracked Dealey down in the hallway of a nearby building, where he was sitting on the floor eating gummies. He admitted to manslaughter with a diminished responsibility due to his mental health issues, including paranoid schizophrenia, claiming that a higher power had instructed him to kill Fox Roberts. The court accepted Dealey's plea, and he was sentenced to indefinite psychiatric care at a secure inpatient facility. Number 9. Ivelisse Lugo. In October of 2024, Philadelphia police responded to a call about a 51-year-old missing woman named Ivelisse Lugo. It was the day after her birthday, and she had been last seen more than an hour earlier. Lugo's daughter had gone door to door asking if neighbors had seen her mother before contacting law enforcement, fearing that something had gone terribly wrong. Believing Lugo might be with her estranged husband, 34-year-old Miguel Caragora Angel Aguilar Ojeda, police issued an alert, but she was much closer than they realized as they discovered when they returned to her home the following day and found her stabbed to death and wrapped in a blanket in the back of her garage. No immediate arrests were made, but Ojeda was named as a person of interest shortly after the discovery of Lugo's body. By then, he was nowhere to be found. State authorities charged him in absentia with murder, possessing instruments of a crime, and tampering with evidence. More than a month after the killing, federal authorities issued a warrant for Ojeda's arrest for unlawful flight to avoid prosecution. He remains at large, and rewards of $25,000 and $20,000 are being offered by the FBI and the Philadelphia Police Department for information leading to his capture. Number 8. Jason Shockley. In late April of 2020, police responded to a 911 call at an Akron, Ohio home, where they found the body of 69-year-old Benny King. He had been stabbed in his bedroom and his cash savings had been stolen. As he clung to life during his final moments, King had crawled into the hallway in a desperate attempt to survive. Law enforcement was called to the scene by King's friend, Sarah Evans. She and other witnesses pointed officers toward a suspect, 31-year-old Jason Shockley, who had a history of problems with King and lived just a few houses away, but he managed to fly under the radar until a month and a half later when he was arrested in connection with the robbery and homicide of another man, 68-year-old Gary Bollis. Police found Bollis stabbed to death in his home while performing a welfare check at the request of his family. His TV, bank card, SUV, and some other belongings had been stolen. Shockley admitted to killing Bollis and was charged with murder, aggravated robbery, felonious assault, and theft. Following his arrest, he was connected to King's death and hit with additional charges of aggravated murder and aggravated robbery. He pleaded guilty to both murders in early 2022 and was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Number 7. Sean Lannon. In early March of 2021, police found the dismembered bodies of 4 murder victims in an abandoned pickup truck outside an Albuquerque airport. Identified as 21-year-old Matthew Miller, 39-year-old Jennifer Lannon, 40-year-old Heston Matter, and 60-year-old Randall Apostalan. They had all been reported missing 2 months earlier. Some of the victims had been shot while others had been bludgeoned to death. Surveillance footage showed the suspect, 49-year-old Sean Lannon, parking the truck where it was found, but by the time investigators identified him as a suspect, he had fled Albuquerque and gone on the run. 3 days after the gruesome discovery was made, Lannon was linked to the murder of 66-year-old Michael Dabkowski, who was bludgeoned to death inside his home in East Greenwich Township, New Jersey. Police arrested the accused killer in Missouri after he was caught driving Dabkowski's stolen vehicle, and Lannon was subsequently extradited to New Mexico to face justice for the first 4 killings. During questioning, Lannon gave a detailed confession of his crimes, which included the murder of his ex-wife, Jennifer Lannon. He claimed to have committed 16 murders, but no evidence of any additional killings was ever found. Lannon pleaded guilty to all 5 murders and was sentenced to 35 years in prison in New Jersey, plus 4 15-year consecutive sentences for each of the 4 remaining murders. He'll serve his sentence in New Jersey before being relocated to New Mexico to begin serving his remaining 60-year term. Number 6. Autumn Paige Strickland. 38-year-old Autumn Paige Strickland vanished at around 2 a.m. on May 17th, 2025, after she was last seen leaving a hotel in downtown Florence, Alabama. While investigating her disappearance, police uncovered surveillance footage which appeared to show the victim being struck twice with her own car about 1.5 miles from the hotel. The video was captured outside a local business, whose owner told local station WAFF that Strickland could be seen trying to run from the car. Based on the driver's behavior in the clip, police believe he struck the victim intentionally. Later identified as 28-year-old Logan Rogers, the alleged killer abandoned Strickland's vehicle and got a ride to his pickup truck before driving it back to the crime scene. He loaded the victim's body into his vehicle and drove off. After identifying Logan as the suspect, police obtained a warrant and paid a visit to his home, where they found Strickland's remains inside a barrel, along with evidence that an attempt had been made to burn her body. Rogers was booked into the Lauderdale County Detention Center, where he remains held without bond on a second-degree murder charge. Investigators do not believe that Strickland and her accused killer had a prior relationship, but it's unclear what led up to the killing or why Rogers was in the victim's car. In mid-July, the judge determined that a preliminary hearing was unnecessary, and the case will now go before a grand jury. Number 5. Brett Lemieux. A months-long investigation into a sports memorabilia counterfeiting scheme came to an unexpected end in July of 2025 when the suspect, 45-year-old Brett Lemieux, was found dead at a residence in Hamilton County, Indiana. Police made the discovery the day after they raided his business location. Hours before his remains were found, Lemieux admitted in a social media post to forging holograms on hundreds of millions of dollars worth of merchandise over a 20-year period. If his claims are true, it would amount to the industry's biggest counterfeiting scheme of its kind in history, but several experts have disputed or at least expressed skepticism, suspecting that Lemieux's numbers were inflated. Lemieux originally fell under legal scrutiny for his alleged crimes in 2012. He reached a settlement with Indiana authorities the following year, and the case was reopened in 2014 after Lemieux was accused of contempt for continuing to sell merchandise on eBay in violation of his previously mentioned court agreement. The legal saga continued for years until his recent untimely death, perhaps suggesting that he knew the authorities were finally closing in on him. Number 4. Stephen Gantz. In June of 2025, police in Hot Springs Village, Arkansas, responded to calls about a man running down the street and shouting at his neighbors. As officers arrived at the scene, they observed the suspect, 54-year-old Stephen Gantz, speeding off in an SUV. He led law enforcement on a high-speed chase before returning to the scene of the call, where he was taken into custody. While searching the home, police discovered the murdered body of the suspect's pregnant wife, 42-year-old Lourdes del Carmen Lourdes Núñez Burgos. Gantz was charged with multiple crimes relating to the pursuit and the victim's death, including first-degree murder and felony fleeing. He also faces a second-degree battery charge for fighting with inmates. A relative told the Hot Springs Village Voice that Lourdes Burgos was a Paraguayan national and a lawyer who married Gantz after meeting online. According to the family member, Gantz traveled to Paraguay to meet his wife's family and seemed like a normal person, leaving his alleged motive for killing Lourdes Burgos unclear. Number 3. Ross McDonnell. In November of 2023, NYPD officers discovered the body of 44-year-old Emmy Award-winning Irish filmmaker Ross McDonnell, who had been last seen leaving his apartment in Brooklyn's Bedford-Stuyvesant neighborhood on his bicycle earlier that month. The bike was found at Fort Tilden Beach in Rockaway, Queens, but his fate and whereabouts remained a mystery until his torso and legs were found in the sand weeks later. McDonnell's body was identified based on a distinctive birthmark that his friends had given a description of to the police. Following the discovery, authorities announced that they did not suspect foul play. It was later revealed that McDonnell likely drowned while swimming in the ocean after 10 p.m. and that he was overtaken by rough waves despite being a strong swimmer. Number 2. Theodore Lloyd. While performing a welfare check at a West Haven, Connecticut home in March of 2025, police found more than a dozen trash bags containing a dismembered human body, along with evidence that someone had tried to burn the remains. Identified as 70-year-old Tina Lloyd, investigators estimated that she had been dead for around 2 months. Tina's 27-year-old son, Theodore Lloyd, was charged with arson and concealing a criminal act in connection with his mother's death. He pleaded not guilty during a court hearing in May and remains in custody with bonds set at $1 million. It remains unclear whether he'll face additional charges, and authorities have not revealed Tina Lloyd's suspected cause of death. Number 1. Dutch torture chamber. In June of 2020, Dutch police discovered several shipping containers housing a torture chamber in a wooded area near the village of Wouwsplantage, complete with a dental chair and instruments for causing agonizing pain. The soundproof structure had not yet been used when it was found by law enforcement, giving police time to warn potential victims and put them into hiding. Detectives learned about the torture chamber's existence after hacking an encrypted chat system containing conversations between organized criminals. The discovery came after members of law enforcement hacked encrypted conversations between underworld figures, which contained millions of messages. A dozen alleged gang members were charged in connection with the case. In May of 2022, the court found that the defendants all contributed to a plan to kidnap, ransom, blackmail, torture, and kill criminal opponents or their relatives. Furthermore, the court ruled that the group tried to take the law into their own hands while pursuing vigilante justice over money-related disputes. The alleged ringleader, a 50-year-old man known as Roger P. or Piet Costa, was sentenced to nearly 18 years in prison. His alleged right-hand man received an 8-year prison term, while 9 other defendants received sentences ranging from 1 to 9 years, and 1 person was acquitted. Thanks for watching. Would you rather wake up like one of the victims in the Saw movie franchise, or wake up in a plane, mid-air, with no pilots or anybody else on board? Let us know in the comments section below.